We have no idea who they were. We have no idea who these magi from afar were that came to visit Jesus and his mother Mary. We know that they are called magi. The scriptures record that and repeat that word several times tonight. These magi that came from afar. Magi is simply the plural of the word magus, or magician, a sorcerer. These were sorcerers, astrologers from the East, practitioners of some other foreign religion. Pagans, for sure, not believers in Judaism, not believers in the one true God. And they see something through their studies and through their looking in the stars in the heavens and watching the world around them very carefully and seeing the slightest difference. They recognize the birth of a new star. How many of us looking up in the heavens would recognize if there was a new star tonight? Or if one disappeared, if one died and dwarfed? Probably not. We don't seem to pay that close attention unless it's our business to do so, unless it's our job. But these magi, they traveled, set out from a distant country, somewhere far east. And they traveled for countless weeks, probably months maybe, even years, we don't know. And they traveled looking for this newborn king. That recognition that something new was happening, not knowing what they would find, not knowing who they would find, not knowing what was at the end of their journey. Nevertheless, their faith taught them to hope and to then be motivated in love, to push themselves out of their homes, to push themselves out of their lives to someplace new, to go where they have not gone before, to go to a new place. And they did just that. And when they went looking for this king, where did they go? Well, where exactly you would expect a newborn king to be born. But the palace of Herod. Let us go to the palace. Surely we will find the king there. And they start asking these questions. And Herod is just as puzzled. And the king knows nothing about this. And his life is changed too. Not only did the light of the star affect the Magi, but it also affected Herod. The Magi went in search of the newborn king, so that they might honor him, so that they might see a light that had been prepared, so that they might find the fulfillment of everything they had been studying and looking in the sky, and see the fulfillment, and to be there and experience it. Herod, on the other hand, he's worried about himself. All of a sudden it folds in on him and his household and his family line and the people that he knows. And all of a sudden he is worried about this other one in the picture. And he too wants to find him, but certainly not to do him homage, to kill him, to put an end to him, to protect himself. Two very different responses to the light of a star. A light that points to something, but doesn't quite show him. In order to find him whom the star points to, the Magi had to change their lives. They had to convert from their pagan ways. They had to give up their sorcery, and they had to go out and find the truth. And when they found it, they gave themselves to him. Let me give you my treasures. Let me give you my riches. Let me lay down my life, as they prostrate before the infant child and his mother. It changes them. And that was the story for Christians, or for rather non-Christians becoming Christian, for ages. People heard the gospel. and they saw a new light. And they experienced the witness of men and women who called themselves Christian and said, what motivates their action? I have to go find out. And these people throughout the ages, motivated by the light of stars, lit by Jesus Christ, found Him and gave their lives to Him in the waters of baptism. Well, for most of us sitting here, most of us were probably baptized in our infancy. And so we didn't have that grand conversion process like the Magi, like the pagans to Christianity. But nevertheless, you and I are called to a grand conversion every day. You and I are called to celebrate Epiphany in some sense every day. This is the feast of our conversion, the world coming to know the Savior who was born for Jerusalem. For here is the first time that outsiders come to worship in Jerusalem the true God. And they become the first in a long line of outsiders, you and I, who will come to worship the true God. But in order to find Him, in order to find Jesus, you and I must convert from our ways as well. In order to look upon Him, you and I must turn from our sin. Because like the astrologers, like the Magi, they were affected by their own culture. They grew up in their own circumstances. But when they found the truth, they turned from that and embraced the one who could set them free. You and I, likewise, are affected by our culture, are affected by the material world around us, are affected by so many things and habits that build up in our own lives that we are in constant need of turning away from and setting out on a journey to see the Savior. We've seen the light. We've heard the gospel. We've recognized the witness of others. But have we yet met the Savior? The only way to see Christ, to see Jesus face to face, is to go on that journey of conversion. Stepping out of our old houses, stepping out of our old lives, and embracing something new. Forgiveness, and mercy, and peace, and justice, and goodness, and kindness. And then laying down our treasures to be at the service of the King. Do you notice how this gospel ends? The Magi don't stay. The Magi don't hang out there in adoration. Rather, they go back to their own country. They go back now as missionaries. They go back to carry a new teaching. They go back to proclaim the gospel as they have seen it, to take what they have seen and to go back and live a new life. And that is why we call them saints today. These Magi are transformed from Magi to kings. They are saints. They now have a new identity because they gave themselves to Christ. You and I have gathered here, and we are not called to stay here. In fact, the Mass, the word Mass itself, was taken from the very last lines of our Mass. Ite missa est. Missa, Mass, people would hear. Go, be missionaries. Go and spread the gospel. Go out and take the light of the Savior into the darkness of the world. That is where we are called to live our new life. We turn from our sin. We journey here to look upon the face of the Savior. And we turn again to go out into the world. Our life is constant turning around and conversion. Go back to your own country after all of this and announce the good news. Tell them what you have seen. This Christmas season may be now in its last week, but you and I must live Epiphany every day, proclaiming the light by our actions. Ite, missa est, go and be a missionary. Convert from the old way of life and shine the light of Christ upon others.